Hey, everybody. I thought this might be the best way for me to kind of interact with you all. I guess it's not really interacting, but talk at you here because, this is kind of what I'm comfortable doing. So hopefully this will help you with your learning and, give you something to look at, I guess, other than whatever's on Netflix or whatever. So agenda for today, talk about myth making, talk about the test you took last Friday, little lesson one review, and then barely a little bit of the lesson two preview, which I'll give you on Thursday. So as far as myth making goes, it's been the only assignment that I gave you both Tuesday and today. So hopefully you're working on that. A reminder, please share it with me. So either fill in the template that I provided on Google Classroom, or you could attach it to that document. You could share it with me, but I do want to check in to see how you're doing on that. Don't forget it's due on Friday evening, so make sure I get it. You don't want a late grade for that. Examples, directions, all are located in Google Classroom, so I look forward to seeing how you're doing on that. The test you took last week, I haven't really taken a look at too many of them, but I hope to, over the weekend, grade those and get those posted. Obviously, not really sure about reassessment opportunities, things like that, but we can deal with that later. Lesson one review. Thanks so many people for doing that. I guess using slides works for me as far as presenting the information that way. The main takeaway with lesson one, well, a couple of things. One, the XYZ affair, which is really not too difficult to understand. It riled up America and it almost prompted war with France. Even though we had just fought with the French in the American Revolution, that alliance quickly eroded, I guess you could say. The other thing is this whole idea of the Alien and Sedition Act. So a couple of things. The alien part targeted immigrants, right? The main thing there was that it pushed back how long it took an immigrant to become a citizen from 5 years to 14 years. And by pushing back how long it takes to become a citizen, you're also pushing back how long it takes to become a voter. So that was something that John Adams, president at the time, and the Federalists pushed for. But the reasons why are pretty transparent to try to keep the new immigrants who tended to become Democratic Republicans from voting against them. I know it's a little bit confusing that Thomas Jefferson's party was the Democratic Republicans, but it was just a crazy time back then. What else do I want to say about that? The sedition part. So this is, and the political cartoon hinted at this, or it didn't hint at it, it was pretty explicit, was that clearly a violation of First Amendment freedoms, right? Can you imagine if, the president, whether it was Obama a little while ago or President Trump now, if you could be thrown in jail for saying anything harmful about the president, because that's totally subjective, right? It's one thing to give away state secrets or troop movements or something like that. Obviously, your First Amendment freedoms aren't absolute. But when it's anything harmful, just because you give an unfavorable opinion of the president, that doesn't mean that you should be thrown in jail, as some newspaper editors and even that congressman from Vermont was. So thankfully, the Alien and Sedition Acts, those laws went away when the presidency changed. Speaking of the presidency, the last question asked you about John Adams and whether or not he would have considered his presidency a failure. Because he was the only president of the first five who wasn't reelected, right? George Washington, president number one, he was reelected. President number three, Thomas Jefferson. President number four, Madison. President number five, Monroe. All these guys were reelected. They served 8 years, but John Adams only served 4. And so the correct answer, or the answer I was looking for anyway, was that he probably would not have seen it as a failure, because he even said, let it be written on my gravestone that, I avoided bloodshed with France, that I brought peace. So he considered that to be a great honor. I mean, if you're willing to have something written on your gravestone, that obviously means that it's pretty important to you. So I would say that he would not have seen his presidency as a failure, in spite of not being reelected. And think about all the things he did, right? I mean, he was the first vice president of the United States. He was he was heavily involved in the passaging and the signing of the Declaration of Independence. But of all the things that mattered to him, he was really proud of avoiding war with France. Coincidentally, the second president to not get reelected for office was actually his son, John Quincy Adams, president number 6. But anyway, so those are some of the main takeaways. We're going to talk more about France in lesson number 2. Because of something called the Louisiana Purchase. So some of the big vocab words for the previewing lesson number 2, knowing what the Louisiana Purchase was, Thomas Jefferson, Lewis and Clark. You'll hear the name Napoleon a few times in the reading. And then also this broad idea of manifest destiny. So anytime you see that in the questions, make sure you pay attention to it. I'm also looking at probably having a little quiz on Friday. It'll be done through Google Forms. Probably I'll mess around with a couple different ways. Similar to what we had before on a lot of Fridays, 8, 9, 10 questions, multiple choice, but just to check in and make sure that you're understanding hopefully what the points I want to get across. Hope everyone's doing okay out there, staying healthy, helping out family members, resting, but hopefully staying a little bit active. And I will see you guys later. Bye.